Okay, I think that's it. I think we're about to be on. Let me just make sure it's streaming. 1 second. Okay, yeah, we're on live. Welcome to the show, Monica. How are you?
I'm all right.
Okay, so your story is really interesting to me because, you were talking about being injured from the vaccine. Can you start at the beginning? How was COVID for you, and what led you to getting the vaccine and making the choices, and what led to the injury as well? How was COVID for you?
All right. So I work in pharmacy. I was recruited early on to test in nursing homes for um, residents and workers at nursing homes, just to test and catch outbreaks. So I was on a team where we went almost daily to a different nursing home, went into the nursing homes rooms and tested them for COVID. We had the PCR test. We brought the swabs back to the testing area, ran the tests, and then could notify people if they were positive or not. This was early. I transitioned to a team that went to the nursing homes and did vaccines. At the end of the day, because we didn't want to waste um, vaccines, we would offer them to anyone who was standing around the nursing home. The nursing homes would, the workers there would call their family members if anyone was nearby, so we weren't wasting vaccine. I wasn't necessarily interested in getting the vaccine, but we had extra doses. I definitely didn't want to take vaccine away from someone who wanted it. We had extra vaccine one day, and I said, okay, I'll take it.
And was this? I'm
Um,
sorry to interrupt. Was this at the beginning, and which vaccine was it as well?
um, we we only had access to Pfizer at the time, so it was Pfizer. I ended up getting my first vaccine in January of 21, so I was pretty early. It was released in December of 2020. Right, we started giving vaccines the week of Christmas 2020. So I got it about a month later, if, if I'm remembering that right. So I didn't have any kind of immediate reaction. I was not anti-vax in any way, shape, or form. I've been vaccinated against shingles, pneumonia. If it's a vaccination, I've had it. Um, it was probably okay. So Houston had the Great Freeze, where temperatures, and I hunkered down and saved the grid, which meant that I set my thermostat at, I think, set it at like 62 degrees. Conserving energy
One
would
second.
help.
Hold on. 1 second. We're having a little bit
Yep.
technical difficulties. Um, just take that back. You said sorry. You just cut out for 1 second. You were saying that you set your thermostat down when the Texas freeze came. Sorry.
Right. So we were encouraged to decrease our energy consumption so the rolling blackouts could happen instead of just one area getting hit with the blackouts. They would be able to roll the blackouts, but there had to be enough energy consumption lowered to where they could facilitate that. So I had my thermostat at 62, and that's cold for a Houstonian, by the way. Uh, then, when my electricity went out, my house dropped down to 48 degrees for an extended period of time. Like, it was probably 12 hours that I was down low. So I was hunkered in bed with a one of those things that you put under you, a feather thing. I had that on top of me to keep me warm. So anyway, 2 weeks from then, which would have been about, well, also 2 or 3 weeks from my second vaccination, my feet just started feeling weird. I didn't know what to attribute it to. I thought maybe I got too cold during the freeze. They just felt weird. They didn't feel numb, but they felt tingly. Then I couldn't get my feet warm. Like, no amount of heat being blasted on them would get them warm. They were fine to the touch, but I had a freezing sensation in my feet. And then eventually that progressed to intense burning pain. So I went to my doctor. Oh, and while this feet stuff's happening, I'm trying to figure out what it is, Googling really cold feet. And I kind of thought it may be neuropathy, but I wasn't sure. And I was Googling, and then I thought, when did I get that shot? And it was the same week as the freeze. So then I'm thinking, well, I wonder if that could be something. So I Googled Pfizer cold feet, and it took me to WebMD, where there were reviews where other people were saying that their feet had been swelling, their feet, there were just a lot of complaints. There were like 300 complaints where they were given reviews of the Pfizer vaccine and complaining about feet. Then I ended up in the Mayo Connect forums where someone had posted, I have neuropathy. Should I get the shot? And there were like 500 replies with people saying, I got the shot and my neuropathy intensified, because this was already an established group of people who had neuropathy. So I was reading stuff they'd written, and I just saw a correlation. Then I went to my doctor, and he just kind of shrugged and said, we don't know enough about the vaccine to know if you're having an adverse event or an adverse reaction. It's just unknown. So he suggested that I go get a venous something, where they look for varicose veins.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go to a clinic that specialized in looking for varicose veins, because they're only going to make money if they find varicose veins. So I'm kind of anti-specialty clinics like that. If you suspect you have low testosterone and you go to a low T clinic, you're probably going to have low testosterone, whether you do or not. So I didn't want to go that route. So I went to a podiatrist, explained all my symptoms to her, and she said, it's a classic case of idiopathic peripheral neuropathy. Here's some gabapentin. Idiopathic means unexplained, peripheral neuropathy because of the way I explained the symptoms to her. So the gabapentin worked at first, but it's just a masking effect. It's never going to cure anything. So I kept diving into what's going on with my body, because then my hands started tingling, and I'm like, if this is taking over my body, I'm freaking out, because the sensation crept up from my feet. It was up to my kneecaps. I put compression hose on, or socks, because I heard that was good. Well, that intensified the burning. So what I've since discovered is I have some kind of touch sensation, because I mostly only burn where my shoes and socks touch my feet during the day. I've also had some, what's been described as, I don't know how to say it, dysautonomia. It just means some of my normal dysautonomia, I think, it's things that you don't think about doing, that your body does on its own. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, your digestive system, things that you don't have to make happen, your body just knows to make it happen. So I've had some blood pressure plummets. I've had some dehydration that's unexplained. I've had just weird stuff, getting super lightheaded for no given reason. I've kind of pinpointed some of that. I was having digestive issues, so I took a supplement to help that, and I think that contributed to me becoming dehydrated. So I've kind of leveled off some of the stuff, but ended up going on Reddit because I saw a post where a guy had gone into the COVID long haul area and said, I've never had COVID, but I'm having the same symptoms as some of you guys. Now, you have to know my peripheral neuropathy is minor in comparison to the people I've met on Reddit and in private Facebook groups. There are people that their heart rate is elevated to an extreme point when they're at rest. And then when they stand up, their heart rate skyrockets and they can't get it back down. So, I mean, there are people with real issues. I have some weird feet. It's painful, but I haven't stopped working, and it's minor in comparison. There are other people that are having seizures. They're being hospitalized. They can't walk. They're having paralysis. So reading some of that stuff motivated me to find more answers. But anyway, back to this Reddit page. This guy said, I never had COVID. I'm experiencing some of the same things y'all are. I was vaccinated, and then this happened. And he had what is classically defined as POTS, post-osteo something syndrome. That's where the heart rate goes wackadoo. So he read a bunch of the stuff that the long haulers, the COVID long haulers were going through, and he started supplementing. And by the time I saw him, he had kind of sort of recovered with some supplements, some antihistamines. So he was kind of treating what they call mast cell something syndrome with the antihistamine protocol. And he was adding, basic magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, just getting all of his supplements to a better working order. So being on subreddit, being on Reddit, I found out that there is a quarantined area specifically for vaccine injured people. So I get in there and I start looking around and I'm thinking, man, I'm one of the lucky ones. Then I think Sally contacted me through the quarantined sub, and I didn't know what Discord was, and I'm not a huge social media person. I ignored it because I didn't know what it was. Then about a month or two ago, I've been back to the doctor 3 or 4 times. They don't know what to do. Maybe I need to go see a neurologist. Maybe it's this dysautonomia or whatever, how you say it, thing. So I need a neurologist to get to the bottom of that. In the meantime, I think I found out about an organization called myfreedoctor.com. It's not completely dedicated to COVID. It's there for people that can't afford medical care. It's a wonderful organization. You can get free medical care, telehealth, and you fill out a profile, and then they submit you to a doctor that they think can help. They ask for a donation at the end of your visit, but the doctor stays with you regardless. So when I first heard about myfreedoctor.com, it was during the Senator Ron Johnson roundtable, which had a bunch of doctors just talking about, it was part of the vax mandate issue and not supporting it. And they had doctors giving their testimonies on how they treated COVID and their success rates. They had vax injured people come in and talk. It was a 5-hour long roundtable. And I think they could have talked for another 40 hours easy. But during that, they talked about My Free Doctor, and I went on, and they weren't accepting new patients at the time. Something triggered me a month or two ago, and I searched again, and they were accepting. So I got in. I was able to speak to a doctor that follows, it's called FLCCC, which is Frontline Critical Care, COVID Critical Care. And they've developed a protocol to treat long haulers and vax injured people. It's high antihistamine, prednisone, montelukast, statin drug. It's just a protocol that they found that works. So the doctor at My Free Doctor follows that protocol, and he put me on it. So I've been on prednisone, hence the round face I've got going on with no cheekbones or anything. I think today is day 40 that I've been on prednisone. So anyway, I posted about the My Free Doctor on Facebook in the private group. And Zelly contacted me again, and he kind of explained what Discord was. So now I know it's like an AOL chat room, except it's on a different methodology. So I went ahead and joined because he wanted to get information to share. And even on these private Facebook groups, we have to talk in code, because otherwise they'll get flagged and shut down. I think it's happened to them twice already. Yeah.
What are you allowed to, or can you expand on what you're allowed to say and what words or keywords have to be used in code? Is that's really creepy.
Yeah, you refer Pfizer's P, Moderna's M, Johnson & Johnson's J. But you can't say any of those.
You can't even say the word. If you say the word, you're flagged and you're Are you gonna get removed? Are you removed from the book, or are you put in like your account is like suspended temporarily for like 72 hours for saying that? What happens?
No. It's not that. The risk is that there are 2,000 people in this private Facebook group. The group has been dismantled before, where they just shut down the group. So then
for what reason as well? Is it just keywords? Is it do they just say it's disinformation? This isn't actually happening, and they just
yeah. That's my understanding. I wasn't part of it when it got dismantled. So anyway, the admins of the group have invoked a screening process of keywords they think are being flagged or targeted that could bring the group down. So it's hard to post. You can't say the word vaccine. You can't say adverse, I don't think. And this seems to hold more true in like the original post on Facebook, more so than it does in replies. but people are just overly cautious and try not to use those keywords in conversation for fear of the dismantle. Uh, there is a website that is free to speak. It's called react19.eu. Either org or com, I don't know. But they've developed like a forum situation so you don't have to be censored or scared.
I'm sorry. I have a nurse who's my friend. He was asking me on the chat. He's asking, have you ever been prescribed blood pressure medication for your symptoms, specifically nifedipine, something like that?
Nifedipine?
Yeah, nifedipine.
No,
Sorry, or other calcium channel blockers.
I don't have high blood pressure. I mean, that would be if I had high blood pressure. I have plummeting blood pressure, which is a completely different animal because if you go to Dr. Google for low blood pressure, there is no parameter.
I love Dr. Google.
High blood pressure, it says if it's, I don't know, 150 over 90, that's alarming. There's no such thing as an alarming low number. But there was one time that I woke up out, I dozed off. I was asleep and I just did a jolt where I was jolted awake. I knew something was wrong. I took my blood pressure and it was like 98 over 49. It was just a number I've never seen before. And it scared me. And I went and ate some salt and drank a sports drink. And I think I freaked myself out. So then my blood pressure is 135 over 90. So I went the opposite direction. And then I calmed down. And, while I'm sitting there, well, should I call a neighbor? Or should I call my mom? Or should I just call an ambulance? Do I call 911 and ask them if this is dangerous? So anyway, I calmed myself down. I went back to sleep. 6 o'clock in the morning, the same thing happened again. But I was having digestive issues that I was treating the only way I knew how. And I think I dehydrated myself. And I think the dehydration led to the low blood pressure. I haven't had any of those scares again. And that was in January. So that was a while ago.
Let's see. He replied. He wrote, the symptoms you're describing immediately made me think of Raynaud's syndrome. The usual first line of medication treatment are calcium channel blockers, not high blood pressure medication, so most likely low doses. This would fix your cold extremities, if that is the cause at least. But is it just cold extremities? I think you were saying that it's a numbness and tingling, right?
So what happens is I have what they call paresthesia first thing in the morning, which is the tingling, numbness, pins and needles feeling. Kind of like when your foot falls asleep and then it starts to wake up and you have that pins and needles. So that's what I have when I first wake up in the morning. Then I get moving, getting ready for work, and my feet feel extremely cold. And they feel pretty cold during my entire commute to work. But once I get to work, I'm in pharmacy, I'm on my feet. Probably 2 hours into my shift, I have intense burning pain that pretty much stays with me all day.
Lev is asking, and he had he got one thumbs up. He wrote, "Are you diabetic?"
Nope. My A1C is perfect.
Okay.
And with Raynaud's, you would have discoloration of your feet and hands. Typically, they would turn almost, well, they turn red, white, or blue. I've seen pictures, and I don't have that. I don't think. But, I mean, that's for a neurologist, and I can't get an appointment until August 2nd. Which seems kind of weird in, the medical city of the world. So, but okay, so back to my free doctor put me on a protocol, and at the same, that's when Zelly contacted me, and I got into this Discord. And there's a researcher that is part of Zelly's channel, who I just call Oz. He's a researcher from Australia. My understanding is he has recovered from EBV, which is Epstein-Barr virus, and he's recovered from CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. And chronic fatigue syndrome is his area of research and study. And he has healed himself by replacing nutrients that were missing in his body. It's his theory. He's writing a paper on it. He believes that vaccine injury is presenting as CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. And he's kind of fascinated with the vaccine injury people because this is the first time he's seen CFS when it hasn't been 5 or 7 years down the road, because CFS is one of those things that's really hard to diagnose, and a lot of people live with it for a long time before they ever get a diagnosis. So during his research, his patients or subjects come to him 5 or 7 years into their disease. But he's seeing is people who are presenting so early in the disease, and he's put together a protocol. It's not dangerous. It's supplements, nothing that needs to be prescribed. I'm not just listening to this dude on the internet tell me stuff, because it could be a 12-year-old girl. I don't know. It could be a guy trying to hawk a bunch of supplements. But he's not getting rich from me buying supplements in the USA. So I do think that he's just a very kind man who's trying to help people who are distressed. So he put together a protocol which, begins with 3 things, basic, one of which is aspirin, one is baking soda, and the other is called NAC, N-acetylcysteine, and it's a high dose of NAC. I went to Dr. Google again, and it doesn't look like there's any danger in it. It was part of the protocol that I got from my free doctor. It just wasn't at this extreme dosage. So that doctor recommended this supplement, but not at the extreme dosage. I ran it by my PCP, and he said it would be fine for me to take these dosages for a limited amount of time. 3 weeks, then you cut back. Because NAC helps your body produce glutathione, and that will help with mitochondrial repair, which is what Oz thinks or says we're experiencing. So it's at a cellular level in the blood. Also, someone in the Discord had bought a microscope, and they started looking at their blood. So I thought, well, I can play with this science geek thing, and it was a joke. It was totally an $80 game to play. So my best friend is not vaccinated. So I got my microscope and I got my slides and I stopped at Walgreens and I got some lancets and some lancing devices. And we decided to start poking our fingers and putting our blood on slides. We watched a YouTube video to show us how to smear it properly. And Oz had told us what to look for. It's called a rouleau formation. That's what a lot of people that he's helping in Australia as part of, he's writing a paper on all of his discoveries. So anyway, he's showing us what to look for. The rouleau formation is your red blood cells, instead of being round and pretty and flowing in the blood smear, they're pancaked. They're squished, and then they're all stuck together. And we have a guest star back here, I believe.
What's the name?
I don't know which one this is. I've become like the crazy cat lady. This is my cat that has gender dysmorphia because I got him during COVID and the vet's office I took him to would not let me go into the clinic. So I adopted two kittens, brother and sister as it turns out, but I thought I had a sister. It wasn't until our third visit that I found out one was male. Well, they didn't have the correct names to the short hair versus the long hair. So this one remained female while his sister I was told was male. So this is my male cat, Myra.
Hello, Myra.
I've renamed him Myron, but there's been confusion for both of us. Okay, so I was talking about Oz. So he's doing a study.
You were saying about the blood smear. Your friend was unvaccinated. You're vaccinated, and you only had the first. You only had the first vaccine, the first shot, and then you started getting the symptoms. So you're ready to become a scientist and start checking the blood.
I have both vaccines.
Oh, okay. So you got the second shot,
Yeah, I
but
didn't
you
have a
started.
reaction
Okay,
first
but
one.
you okay. So yeah, you got the second one, and so you're ready to compare the blood, and doctor, your friend, your researcher told you what to check for.
With blood. So it was these pancaked blood cells that were all stuck together, not flowing pretty. So I went over to my best friend's house and we did our science experiment. Turns out my blood is pretty beautiful looking at it under the slide. There was a little bit of pancaking, very, very little, and very little sticky. And then we looked at my best friend's blood. Presumably she had COVID. She never tested. Her blood had all of this rouleau formation, all in it. I mean, our blood samples or slides side by side. I mean, it was just visibly very, very different blood. And hers looked problematic and mine did not. So I'm trying to prove that I have this vaccine injury and my unvaccinated friend has the blood that looks like a vaccinated person.
Right.
Me being the vaccinated person had beautiful blood.
So maybe that's not it. You know.
I had been on the protocol for a couple of weeks, so maybe I cleaned my blood up. Don't know. My theory did not pan out. So, back to Oz. So he suggests that everyone get hair mineral analysis test during that 3 weeks that you're doing the high dose NAC. And that way you can see what nutrients for sure you're missing in your diet or supplements or whatever. He's finding, I think the people that he's seen, and I don't remember the numbers.
Hold on, I'm sorry, 1 second. Christina.
Yep.
Christina, if you're listening, can you go away? There's going to be a feedback on the microphone. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. My wife is just, she's listening, but she's listening on her phone, so she doesn't realize there could be a feedback on the microphone. Sorry.
So anyway, he wants to verify the nutrients that are missing or the vitamins, before he gives any kind of guidance to proceed. He has told us which vitamins and nutrients are usually missing in, the CFS situation. Copper seems to be like his number one, but I mean, there's folinic acid, there's magnesium, manganese, just regular vitamin C, D, E. His recommendation for me, just hearing my symptoms, was vitamin B. And I've started taking a vitamin B complex. I take a vitamin B12. I quit taking B6 because that can cause some neuropathies. But just recently, which is riboflavin powder.
1 second. Rob is asking, quick question. Is it possible that Dr. Oz is using you guys as lab rats, not trying to be an asshole by asking that question? And somebody replied, sounds like it. Which, is he honestly giving advice? Or, you know what I mean? Is he making it, right?
He is answering questions when asked.
Mm-hmm.
And he is doing a study in Australia where I think people are truly lab rats. But I think, it could be. It's the internet.
Yeah.
I don't believe that to be true. You'd kind of think with the lab rat situation, he wouldn't be promoting something that has been proven by some of the frontline doctors to work to cure COVID with a supplement that has become difficult to get. Like, Amazon doesn't sell it anymore. And the rumor, and I can tell you all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Oh, but that's what we're all about. That's what this is what the show is primarily about. Conspiracy theories, listening to people like you who don't have a voice anymore, who are scared, who have to hide and use code words to figure out what's wrong with them,
And the support is that the FDA wants to make money off of NAC. That there is a way to make money off of it by making it a prescription. So it's disappeared from Amazon. It's disappeared from Walmart. It's not, I think you can, it wasn't at like GNC, but there's a local grocery store. Whole Foods has it. There's a place called Sprouts down here in Houston, which is like a that they sell. Um, you can still get it at iHerb. You can get it. I saw it earlier today. I was about to buy it from, I don't know, whatever vitamin company makes that dark blue pretty bottle. Can't think of it. No, I can't think of it. But so, I mean, that's the theory with the neck. So it's not like, yeah, he could be using us as lab rats and we're reporting back after trying his protocol, but who cares? Aspirin, baking soda, and back. Oh
So,
well.
with Dr. Oz, are these things now helping you? Are you getting better? And what kind of cigarette is that you're lighting up? Is that 100? Is that a Marlboro Red, or is that a gold one? I used to be a smoker.
It's a 100 red,
They call those
which
cowboy killers.
was a gold. I think you're too young to know that, though.
But
They used to come
I'm sorry.
gold.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They used to come in a gold box. Um, so copper is one of the nutrients that Oz thinks everyone is depleted in. So I purchased the wrong thing. He said copper. There was zinc on the list, so I bought something called copper, zinc, and iodine. And it turns out you're not supposed to take copper at the same time you take zinc. So I don't even know why they make it that way, but I've been taking that.
Why
But
does
the
he
number
think that? Why does he think that it's like you guys are depleted in that specifically? Is there a reason?
one, because he's seen it historically studying people with CFS. I mean,
Okay,
you could be
so did you get your hands on it? Have you been taking it, and how have your symptoms improved?
okay because I don't have the heart issues and all I have is the peripheral neuropathy. He he recommended that I supplement with B vitamins. So I'm taking all these Bs. I'm taking a B complex. I'm taking B12, B2. But anyway, there was one thing on the list that he did want me to get from a specific manufacturer, and it is a riboflavin B2 powder. And I took 2 doses last Wednesday and Thursday morning, and I had a pain-free Thursday. Then I had a pain-free Friday. It's just started coming back a little bit, and it's mostly just paresthesia and light burning. Or, yeah, light burning. That's hard to imagine, but so I don't know. Now I'm like feeling like my body is like retaliating because I actually found something that could fix it. And it's just weird. Am I as dark as I look in that picture? Do you need me to turn a light on?
You are as dark as you look in the picture. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, it's okay. It's up to you.
I just assume not show off my moon face. So fat. It's so weird.
No, you're not.
So
Stop it.
that well, it's just I mean, this is all like prednisone stuff. So anyway, the riboflavin I thought worked. So 2 nights ago, I decided to start decreasing. So back to the My Free Doctor, he put me on prednisone, high dose, for like 7 days and then tapering. I went from 40 and over 3 weeks, I got down to 10. And then the burning started intensifying again. So he knocked me back up to 20 and just told me to stay there. So look at that. Um, I have a magic kitchen. I probably turned it on 2 hours ago. Um, So anyway, I started decreasing the prednisone 2 or 3 nights ago because I thought the riboflavin was my holy grail miracle. I don't know. And I feel like I've been talking for a full hour. Do you have any questions?
No, I just want you. I do. After I think you get to the end of your story, I'm gonna have some follow up questions. But it's very interesting for me. I do want you to get to the
I
end, just
think
so you can.
we're I think we're at the end. A week
Okay.
ago, I started the riboflavin, and it helped, but it does seem like my body really wants to hurt. So it's like it's found a workaround from that riboflavin.
Okay. I'm
But
gonna
I take
start. Sorry.
mhm.
Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna start asking questions as well for the live chat. People who are on, if you guys have any questions, I'll read those out to you as well. My question is, do you think that there are people in the groups that are actually not having any symptoms and they're there as giving you guys like a bad name or anything like a bad rap? Why do you guys have such a bad rap? Like for me, I understand it, but before we started the podcast, you were asking me like, "Oh, do you agree that that there are like people who are injured?"
um that that has so many different facets and answers. Um, I think uh, the media has a lot to do with why we're not believed. Um, the idea was save your community, get vaxxed. It's a good thing. It needs to be done to achieve herd immunity, and you need to do it for the elderly. I mean, my mom is extremely healthy, but she's 20 years older than me. Um, I don't, I didn't want to expose anybody to something that I now believe would not have killed her. Um, but so that was the message. And to admit that people are injured or to advertise that people are injured from the vaccine would be to cause hesitancy. So that was the first reason that I think we were marginalized, because the message was everybody has to be vaccinated. At the same time, there's no way in hell that one thing is safe for every body. I mean, it's just impossible. I mean, someone could take aspirin and have an adverse reaction to it, and
Absolutely.
it could be one person in 10,000. But if you're that one person, that's huge.
Well, especially with the COVID vaccine, you have to think about how many people got vaccinated. It must have been the biggest vaccination rollout, a fast rollout in the history of mankind that we've had. Like, I mean, it's probably close. I don't know if anybody can pull up, but it's probably close to like a billion people that probably did get at least had one dose of the vaccine. And there are going to be, adverse reactions. To say there is not is just stupidity. Of course there are. Like you said, it could be aspirin, peanut allergies, anything. But like you said, it's rare until it does happen to you. And what is upsetting and what's not right is that you're not allowed to even talk in these groups about it. That you're not even able to.
Right, because we're causing misinformation and vaccine hesitancy, which has completely become a joke when you factor in that the vaccine doesn't fucking work for some people. I mean,
Well, I don't know if
it's
I don't know if I would say that it doesn't work. I think it does work. They're saying that it's like, I guess it makes it less on your body. So you have the antibodies, but not as much as somebody who has had it or hasn't had it. You're still gonna get affected, but it won't be as bad.
it won't be as severe,
Yeah,
possibly.
exactly.
But if I saw a report recently, like I would say in the past month or two, that showed that there were more vaccinated people hospitalized at that moment in time than unvaccinated in the hospitals. Like,
I
that's
right.
wrong.
I like I said, I did not see that article. I don't know if that's true or not. But are you for people getting vaccinated?
Now,
Yes. Even after it, are you still for it or no?
I work in a pharmacy. Um, I have professional slash personal relationships with some of my patients, and some of them will ask me, should I get the booster? And I will ask them if they want the company line or if they want my personal line. And almost every one of them will ask for my personal line. And I will I will say that it's a vaccine that was created 2 years ago for a disease that no longer exists in our world because it has mutated so many times that there's no way I think the current booster will help. But I'm not a scientist. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything. And I make sure that anyone who asks for my personal opinion knows all of those things as well.
Yeah, that's a very, very fair statement. Like you said, it's your opinion. You're not a doctor or anything, and that's, you got injured by it. You don't think it's worth it. I disagree. I think it is because I got the shots. I think it is worth it. Again, also, I'm not a doctor. Like I said, we don't know. That's what they're saying. They think that it's less. Luckily, COVID keeps mutating, and it seems like it's getting, less severe, not more severe, which is a good thing. So hopefully, everybody just builds up immunity with the vaccine or without the vaccine. Just having it, everybody wants this to go away. We all hate this. I have another
Yeah,
question. Oh, I'm sorry. You were
and
gonna say something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm at the same vaccinated state as most with my two. So, but I mean, there was a there was a company called Ceramune that was doing a study where they wanted people's blood work to check antibodies nationwide. You could just sign up. They'd send you a collection kit. You rub your arm for 5 minutes, you attach it to your arm, draw some blood, you drop it in the mail, send it back to them. I didn't realize it when I did it, but they were also going to test for some autoimmune disorders. So, I got my results. I don't have Lyme. I don't have, um, I don't remember what markers they checked for, but that was a year after my first vaccination, and I had the antibodies of someone who had never been vaccinated,
Right.
according to them.
Yeah, that's weird.
And if I have no antibodies and I get a vaccine for, like I said before, a vaccine that was developed 2 years ago to fight, I don't know, COVID 1.0 instead of COVID 10.9, what good is it going to do?
I absolutely agree. If those are the actual results that that you got, and I not that I'm doubting you. Like I said, you did get them. I just wonder on a larger group if that would be the same for everybody, or is there something different
Yeah,
with you that it goes away faster, with you as opposed to other people? We don't know.
right. And I think my original, when they started coming out with booster shots, you know, 6 months after your second dose, I'm like, cool. Whatever's happening to me will leave my system. It's dying off. It has to be boosted. So I'm going to get well. 6 months. I can do this. Well, it's 15 months later, and I'm still hurting. So, and I have no antibodies.
Yeah. Was
So
it
I
worth
don't.
it? You know.
I,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know the answer.
Right.
I did. I keep seeing headlines. I'm kind of a headline reader
Mm-hmm.
until something um interests me. But I did see something about Pfizer knew that it was only 12% effective. But I think I did not read the article, but I think that was specific to Omicron. It was only 12% effective against Omicron, which makes sense since Omicron would have been COVID 6.7, or I don't, with all the mutations, how could it have been more than 12%? Or I don't, I don't know the answer. I didn't read the article. I do remember that they were saying 90% effective in the beginning, which maybe it was against COVID 1.0. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I kind of don't care.
Right.
It's kind of like water under the bridge. I think they are liars. I think I think they're one of the things that irritated me that I heard in the past couple of months was not only did the government, our taxpayers pay for those commercials you see on TV, you know, get vaxxed, or, you need to do it, it's the right thing to do. Not only did they pay for those messages, they paid the alphabet networks, I think is how they're referred to it, ABC, CBS, NBC. They paid the news programs to interview doctors to spread the news of vaccines. And that just seems kind of deceitful. You don't pay a news program to put on something that looks like true news. That shouldn't be bought and paid for in that way, not by our government. I don't think. Because Joe Schmo is sitting at home watching his favorite newscaster interview a reputable doctor when those two people that Joe Schmo is supposed to trust are being paid to say what they're saying. They may believe it, but they were being paid to say it. That's not really fair.
I agree. I have another question. With VAERS coming out and listing all the side effects and everything, and then, like I said, all of that, do you think, knowing, like I said, uh, I guess I already know your answer. It's going to be no. But like I said, with the VAERS coming out and having all the side effects, and us knowing, at least that they're telling us that I guess it's now not as effective, some of the shots, even though it's not as effective, knowing how much COVID can possibly, the damage COVID can do, let's say, okay, so let's say it's 12% effective. How much is it, is it more dangerous to get the shot and have it be, let's say, 12% effective, or do you think it's more dangerous to get the shot and you're going to get an adverse reaction from the vaccine? What is the percentage of getting an adverse reaction that's long lasting? Do you know what I mean? Like what's worse?
Okay. I am not getting a booster.
Mm-hmm.
If my work were to enforce a booster, I would quit my job, because I honestly believe that if I got a booster, I could possibly not be able to stand on my feet and do my job. Um, as for the 12% effectiveness, I'm a smoker. I was concerned about COVID. I still did the right thing and went into the nursing homes when it was uncertain because I care for my community. Um, I I will admit I got some hazard pay, but I wasn't really doing it for the hazard pay. It was more, I was worried about people in nursing homes. I was worried about people's elderly. I was worried about, the world, my mom, my aunts, my brother who's a cancer survivor. I was worried about those people. So I thought I did the altruistic and right thing. When vaccines came out, it was the same thing. We're protecting these people. For the 12%. Okay, so I'm a smoker. I was worried about it. I was heavily exposed. I did not always have my gloves on when I walked a sample from one station to another station. I was usually masked up, face shield, gown. But I mean, there were times when I was headed out to smoke a cigarette and I may not have been as careful as I should have been. And I was going into sick people's rooms and swabbing their noses. And I didn't get COVID through all of it. I never got COVID. So maybe I have some fantastic immune system. I'm rarely sick. I'm the least healthy person you will ever meet. No exercise. I eat garbage. I drink soda all day long. I don't drink water unless I'm at a sit-down restaurant. So for 2 years, I have not consumed water. I did when my first started messing up because I did think it was possibly like a dehydration issue.
Zelly did too. That's the funny. I'm sorry to interrupt. Zelly did too. For some reason, he's very convinced about this part that he was telling me that he's like, oh, if I was hydrated, this would have never happened. I don't know. I thought I should mention that.
Yeah. I was working when my feet started feeling funny. I had I don't know, if I'm super duper hungover from drinking, I get dehydrated. That's what my body does. And I remember, nobody probably knows what Astro World is, but it was the theme park here in Houston when I was a kid. And you stand in line in the heat, and I was hungover, and all of a sudden I get that kind of, I'm gonna pass out feeling where your body starts sweating intensely, and I knew I was dehydrated. I know what that feels like when I get too dehydrated. Well, I felt that at work one day, and my feet felt weird, so I was like, maybe I need water. So I started forcing myself to drink like this huge bottle of Smart Water every day. It didn't fix anything, so I quit. I'm back on Dr. Pepper. Because I am from Texas. Dr. Thing.
Dr. Pepper's king out there. I had no idea.
No, it's a thing.
Right.
It was developed in Dallas, or not Dallas, Texas, but outside Dallas.
I have another question. I've seen some people, because I am part of those groups too, just for research purposes and just to look around. I've seen certain people that were posting weird stuff that to me it looks like there's a bit of some. I'm not saying it's all of them. Like I said, a billion. But do you think that there are some people in the group that are possibly not experiencing anything, and they're making it up in their head, or they think it's something else, or maybe they're like a little bit of hypochondriacs or anything like that. Have you seen anything in your groups, and how do you think that affects the group's legitimacy, if there
Okay.
are?
Back in the beginning, when I thought maybe my feet had gotten too cold during the freeze, and before I kind of landed on the vaccine thing, which I'm pretty firmly in that trench now. It would take a lot to get me out of I was injured by the vaccine camp. It would take a lot. Like a doctor would have to prove to me that that's not what happened. But so in the beginning, I did think I was crazy because I thought I'd gone off on this conspiracy tangent and
What do you mean you thought you were crazy? What did you think it was? I mean, the symptoms you were experiencing were obviously real.
yeah, I had symptoms. So, and I wondered if in the beginning, it was like, it could have been the cold, it could have been the vaccine. Maybe I have really poor posture. Maybe I'm wearing the wrong shoes. Maybe I need to get my back alignment done with a chiropractor. Maybe an acupuncturist can help me. Maybe a massage therapist can help me. I did everything I could think of to fix what was going on, and the podiatrist. Because then I was thinking, well, maybe I have this sciatica thing everybody's always talking about. So everything was proven wrong. Like, the podiatrist is like, no, sciatica would start at the hips and go down, not start at your feet and come up. The chiropractor is like, yeah, you needed a cracking, but there's nothing wrong with you. He couldn't sense anything that was like out of alignment. Plus, I have it the same in both feet. So I can't remember what the word is for it. Usually with adjustments and chiropractic stuff, you might have it more on one side than the other unless it originates in the lower back as a chiropractic thing. But because it's the same, he would supposedly be able to sense what that was in the back that would be causing problems in my feet. I don't know. But so I did think I was kind of nuts. And then as I found more people that were experiencing other stuff, I still thought, well, maybe I'm nuts because these people are having heart issues and pericarditis and myocarditis. And these are like really fit, healthy young men that are having heart issues. And I'm sitting here, an old, unfit person with neuropathy, and not, so how can these things meet? Because they're so vastly different. Then I found some people that were also having the pins and needles, and they were having the cold, and they were having the burning. And then there were more of them and more of them and more of them. And then I was like, well, evidently I'm not crazy. We can't all be crazy, can we? So I did have some doubts. And then, I've never looked to see how many people are part of this Facebook group, but I've heard people throw out numbers like 2,000 and 3,000 members. We can't all be nuts. We can't all be psychosomatic. We can't all be hypochondriacs. I'm not an ill person. I'm not a hypochondriac. I'm unfit and don't eat well and all that, but I don't get sick. So, yes, I do believe there are people in the group that fall into the hypochondriac um, category. I believe there are people in the group that fall into the psychosomatic category. Um, I I fully admit that sometimes I can read people's posts and they say their left eye is twitching, and I'm like, is my left eye twitching? Huh? Did that just twitch? Did it twitch? You know? And then I move on. It's like, you kind of. I mean, you think about it. It's something that you absorb and perceive, and you kind of like, do I have that? And then I don't usually.
I have a question. How has your family reacted to this? Are they supportive of you? Are other people like you said, because you said there that the I guess the media and everything, they're trying to make you guys seem out like it's, or trying to maybe not seem out that it's not happening, but like block you guys out, or like, whatever. How has your family and your friends reacted? Has everybody been supportive, or have you had backlash?
I think I didn't want to be part of the misinformation, and I didn't want to cause vaccine hesitancy in the beginning, so I didn't talk about it a lot. My middle brother, is a cancer survivor twice, and with his first cancer, he had a bone marrow transplant from my oldest brother. So in effect, from a bone marrow transplant, my middle brother received my older brother's immune system, is how it works. Well, evidently, my oldest brother may not have gotten a really good case of the chicken pox when he was young. So my middle brother, being sick and recovering from cancer, became susceptible to shingles and got shingles bad, like hospitalized bad on morphine bad. Well, that was 20 years ago, and he still has residual neuropathy from his shingles 20 years ago. So I talked to him when I was diagnosed with the peripheral neuropathy, kind of to commiserate. It's like, oh man, I had no idea what you were suffering through for the past 20 years. And so he's supportive. I have a sister-in-law that's extremely interested and supportive. It's her neurologist that I'm going to go see in August. My mom and aunt listen, but in honesty, their friends have much worse issues going on than someone complaining about some tingly feet. Their friends are closer to 80, and they're dealing with cancer and broken bones and osteoporosis, elderly people stuff. So I mean, they'll listen to me, but it's kind of like, yeah. I have friends that I talk to and, just tell them like the stuff I told you. I found this My Free Doctor and trying this now. And, supportive, yeah. No one has like spit on me or anything.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. That wouldn't be very nice.
What are your I guess hopes on doing this podcast? Is it just to get the message out, just to share your story? What made you want to come on the show and share your story?
So I don't know how many podcasts you've done with Zelly. I know of two. One that happened a night or two ago, and one that happened a month ago. The one where I met you and Rob because I was like yelling at y'all in the chat that
Uh,
you were needed
yeah, I
there.
remember that.
Um, I I thought that y'all were being borderline cruel to someone that was having issues, and I didn't think that was fair, and I don't think he can articulate what he's going through. Um, Possibly because that left eye twitch thing I was talking about. I think he may absorb it a little bit more than I do, or maybe is not as able to shrug it off and move on and let it go. I think he gets fixated on that example of a left eye twitch.
Right, that's not happening. That's happening to somebody else, and it's not happening to him.
Possibly, yeah. I think. I mean, I'm I'm not I'm not science. I am not Fauci. So I mean, I don't know that that's what's happening, but that's my opinion in some cases. And I think he felt attacked, whether he was being attacked or not. He felt it and he absorbed it, and it it seemed cruel for that to continue. And I felt like I could possibly be a better voice for vaccine injury with you and your podcast. Then is that fair?
That's very fair. Yeah. Let me see. Does anybody else have any questions, or would they like to say anything?
I would also like to point out that I thought it was very cool of Rob to reach out to me after I did Zelly in the chat and explain to me that y'all had not ignored all of the article. I mean, I understand that the two of you are not interested. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. You're not injured, so you're probably not as interested in all of the things that Zelly has dug up to prove that that things happen. Because it hasn't happened to you, um, why would you want to read all that crap? It's a lot of crap. And it's a lot of information to try to disseminate because to read it does not make it true. Because you read that, X, Y, and Z happen, you have to know your source. You have to dig deeper. You can't just read the headline. I mean, I do, but if the headline intrigues me, I mean, that's what clickbait's all about. You go in and you dive a little deeper and read, and you hopefully logically come to some conclusion or realize that this article could be biased. And then you try to find a counter to it and then come up with your own opinion instead of just taking everything at face value because someone on the internet said it. That, and I understand why y'all not want to read all that crap. I personally probably read more than I should, but I don't read it. Don't want to.
No, yeah, of course. That's how I do feel. Like I said, I will read up on some of it stuff, but also I have, which I'm sure many people have, is just like COVID exhaustion. Like I'm so sick of it. I hate COVID. I want to forget it. Like just the depression, just being shut in. Just I want life to resume. It's like the one last thing I want to hear about is COVID in certain days, you know. But there are the times where I do want to hear about it. But sometimes it's like the last thing. I just want to I want normalcy back, and I'm sure that's what you want. That's what everybody wants. You don't want to, you don't want this. This isn't something you asked for. You just want your regular life back.
Well, and you know what's strange about that is I was never shut in.
Hmm.
You know, I went to work every day. Every day. I was essential. I did special projects. I worked more in 2021 probably than I have in 5 or 10 years, hours wise.
But still, I'm sure in certain ways you were shut in for like going out to a restaurant. You couldn't do that anymore. You know, family at the beginning, like the family meetings, like just life was interrupted, and that's all we can hear about. And at a certain point, it's like the same thing with similar with the war in Ukraine. Not that I don't care, I do care, but also like eventually, like the first time when it's happening for the first few weeks, you're outraged, you're shocked, you're scared, and then it's like in a sick way, like you get so used to it, it doesn't even affect you. They're like, oh, Russia bombed another like hospital. Like, oh yeah, that's bad. The first time you hear it, you're like, it's horrible, but then by the end, it's like it's almost like you're numb to it or something like that.
It's human nature to become fatigued from it. Um, but I mean, just so you know, me being a shut-in is not, um, it would not be a problem.
Hmm.
Um, and I come by that naturally. My mother, I used to joke about my mom a lot. She's one of those people that could go live on top of a mountain and take care of herself just fine. And she said, yes, perfect. And I was like, are you going to let me visit? And she said, as long as you have an exit strategy. So as long as there is a time limit, I can visit.
Right.
So I come by it naturally. I live alone. I'm perfectly fine being by myself. I do like um, I like visiting with people. I like having people around, but I'm also perfectly content.
And you're
I
also a bit of an insomniac, you said, right? You
um,
and you said you're a bit of an insomniac, so you're also like a night owl. You enjoy your, I guess, your solidarity. I mean, by your isolation by yourself, and like you said, by being an insomniac as well. I'm sure.
yeah. And with the internet now, you don't ever really have to be alone.
Right, right, of
I mean,
course.
I'm perfectly fine reading a book alone, um, watching TV alone. But if I ever need human contact, the internet's it. So it's not like 30 years ago, where if you were isolated, you were truly isolated.
Is there anything else that we don't have any questions or anything like that anymore? And yeah, is
Who
there anything
cares?
else you'd like to say?
You know,
Okay, great. We've been going for about an hour and a half. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope I asked the right questions. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for taking the time. It's great meeting you.
me too.
I hope your brother lives a long life, cancer survivor twice, like you said. Um, you
Amazing.
have awesome cats. You're an awesome person. I hope you can recover as fast as
Thank you.
possible and put this thing behind you.
Me too.
And yeah,
What I really wish is for the people that are injured more severely get relief. Those are the people that really need your thoughts.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And the one big thing also for me was, I should mention, is that I didn't like was I like to do conspiracy podcasts. Not that I always agree with it. Like, I don't really believe that many conspiracies, but I enjoy talking about them because it's just fun, you know? And what I started noticing was I've done other podcasts about conspiracies and they were just taken down because of keywords, and I was shocked. And I would message Facebook, I would message YouTube, and they were giving my account strikes and bans. And I was even telling them, I would have, for example, this podcast might be taken down, and I might not agree with you. You know what I mean. I do agree with that you do have the thing, but I think that people still should get vaccinated and whatever. That's fine. But why are we not allowed to talk about this, especially in America? You know, I think that's the most important thing, that we should be able to talk about this. But the fact that that this topic can get taken down, to me, it's scary. And to me, that's the scariest thing about it. To me, it's more scary that this can get taken down than if you were spreading misinformation, you know, which I don't think you are at all. But to me, that's, you know, it's more scarier that the fact that we're losing, I think, our freedoms.
Yes. I will give you an example of something I thought was very interesting. Um, I actually watch the Megan Kelly podcast on YouTube just about every day. I find her views and fairness intriguing. I like listening to the interviews she does. She recently did an interview with Kennedy, which he's extremely controversial. And they gave it, I believe, 4 hours. I think her podcast lasts for 2, and she dedicated 2 days to him. And she knew that she was going to have pushback from YouTube, and she understood that, you know, she has no right to be on YouTube. But the way she did a lot of research to justify his stances on various topics that they've discussed. And she, like, after the interview was done, they broke it into segments, and you could tell that she was not presenting live. It was after the fact. She would say, okay, we researched what he just said, and she cited articles and she cited studies that proved, you know, one way or the other. When she thought he had spoken out of turn, she addressed that as well. She said, we looked into this. It does not appear that this was factual. So I think to do a conspiracy theory thing, you may have to put disclaimers, because she said that her audience complained about, you know, the information underneath the YouTube where she cited all of these articles, and people commented saying, we don't need all that garbage. And she's like, I had to do it to hopefully be able to stay up on YouTube. So that may be something you can look into.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like she said, she doesn't own YouTube. She has no rights to be on YouTube. So she has to play by their rules.
Yeah.
And that's what she,
Right, but
and I think that interview's still up.
but like you were saying, I think even if I was, and maybe I didn't finish the story, but that's exactly what happened. I would get the strikes. I would copy and paste stuff that I said where I was like, I don't agree with this, or I'm having a discussion about this. I'm like, there were certain discussions with the vaccine that I had with Sally and other people. So I would have actually nurses, you know, because my family, there's a lot of nurses in my family, doctors, nurses. So I would have some of my, like, let's say 2 nurse friends that they would argue with somebody else who would have it, you know, or just not even argue, just have a conversation about it, a simple conversation. This person has this, so we have follow-up questions or whatever, and that's it. But the fact that these keywords were used would flag us, and I don't know if the company is just too big and they get so many flag things that they don't even respond, even though I would copy and paste the conversation, where I would look at what counts, what counts as a violation violation of their terms of agreement. I'm like, I did not violate any of this. And the video would just be removed, blocked, and then I would have a couple of warnings there. Like, if we catch you 2 more times, your account's going to be deleted. So I just hate that. But
And they've never like responded to your rebuttal.
They did after about, let's say, some of the podcasts were, let's say, like 3-4 hours. After an hour, the podcast is 3-4 hours, so I know they didn't watch it. They would respond after reviewing your appeal. We denied it. That would be it. And like I said, I think it's not like it's an agenda against me, but they have to work on getting better at it. What I think is they probably have computers that are scanning the podcast. They look for certain keywords, and when you reach these amount of keywords, it automatically blocks you. And everybody uses YouTube, everybody uses Facebook, so I can't imagine how many, thousands of videos get blocked. So I'm not into like they're just after me. It's not, but I think they should work better at it.
Yeah, and you don't have the clout that Megyn Kelly would.
Exactly. So if somebody's big, like for example, like Joe Rogan, his podcast, they don't get taken down. He's able to talk about stuff like that. But somebody that's a smaller person, we can't even talk about certain things. I hate that, and I'm all for having people like you on and anybody else who has like a conspiracy. I don't. There's nothing wrong with it. It's so silly to hide people like you. It does happen. It does happen. People get sick and they get adverse reactions from everything. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is reality. And your voices should be heard.
And I will. Megyn Kelly did get the COVID information block put on hers, as Joe Rogan does as well.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. I've seen that.
So the information page is still on there, which kind of insinuates misinformation ahead, but we live with it. But I'm sorry that, with her having clouds, she gets to stay up, and you just get, pushed and not reviewed. Maybe you'll get reviewed in 5 years, and they'll put it back up.
Exactly. That's just the way it is. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, whatever you have planned. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been great.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Good night.
Bye.